Dobro večer, namaskar, good evening to all of you. I have some books in my hand because I consider this to be an academic evening. You know, Professor Jha was talking about that he was very pleasantly surprised and happy to see that email about how Sanskrit is getting so much of popularity and so much of recognition in a place in Croatia. But there is a reason to it, and most of us are aware about it. But before I go into that, let me welcome all of you to this special evening as we celebrate this Hindi Diwas on 14th of September. But we do it as a 2-week-long celebration. And before the end of those 2 weeks, today on 27th, we are doing it in Zagreb. So thank you very much for all the students who are going to participate today in this program actively, and to the Indology department, to the Sanskrit chair, Professor Meenu Krishna, and Professor Jha, the Hindi chair and Sanskrit chair. This is the first time that both Hindi and Sanskrit chairs are in one university anywhere outside India, and that's also in Zagreb. So you are aware that the first Sanskrit grammar book in Europe came from Philip Vezin, who was from Croatia. Not many people know that the national anthem writer of Croatia, Antun Mihanovic, 200 years back, wrote about a small booklet of 200 words which came from Sanskrit and got influenced into the Slavonic languages. Now that was a surprise to me. I went through all those 200 words and I saw a small story there. And that story is beyond just simple arithmetic connection between one language to another. It's actually telling the story of humanity. That's what I'm going to share, my small work that I tried to do out of those 200 words. And then 50 years back, this book was written from Punjab University, G.S. Rayal, professor, who has collected 1,000 words, not 200, 1,000 words, with the story of where those 1,000 words might have affected the Croatian language coming from Sanskrit. Now, that's very amazing to see about Croatia and Sanskrit, but then we have a small video today to talk about how Sanskrit is actually the mother of many languages, probably all languages. It just needs to be how much behind in time we can look back to. So if we had the time machine, we could have probably seen how these languages emanated. But before that, let us first start with Hindi. So I have another book here. This is the book Sloan Siroce. This was published in 2020. And this is the book of around about 45 compositions by Ambassador Drago Stambuk, who was the ambassador of Croatia for 4 years in India in 90s when we started our diplomatic relationship. Today he is a Croatian ambassador in Iran. So a month back we met for a lunch here in Zagreb, and he expressed his wish that I have never been to India after I left India in 90, like in his posting 25 years back. But he wrote his book about his posting to India, and the title is Sloan Siroce. Is there a possibility that this can be converted or translated into Hindi? And with that Hindi translation, he would visit India again 25 years later. So I went back, I looked at this book, and I looked at the main poem, Sloan Siroce, and I translated it in half an hour in Hindi. So I thought in this Hindi Diwas, I will present that. So this book is collection of around about 45 compositions. But the main composition is Sloan Siroce, which is 9 stanzas, and it's a very beautiful poem of a diplomat who has gone to a faraway land, to India, in 1998, 97. And then he wrote this poem when he was leaving the country. So as you know, in Hindi, when you write a poetry, or in Sanskrit, there are nav rasas, 9 different figure of speeches. So those 9 rasas, in this poem, there are 4 of them which are part of this poem. And those 4 are basically the beauty, the shringar, or the love. You have bhakti, devotion, which is more like karunarash, or sorrow. You have spiritualism, which is more shanti, the peace. And you have the adbhut, the surprise. Professor Meenu Krishna mentioned about adbhut, that she feels like surprised to work here with the students. So there is these 4 rasas which are mentioned in this poem. The poem is about how he went to India and what impressed him a lot to start with. So the poem goes like this in Hindi, because it's a Hindi.